Awesome. Thank you so much. We're really going to have an awesome time. It's really an honor to have a Mr. Aaron Decker on the call. This is an amazing mentor. I'm going to be reading his profile shortly. But before that, I just want to welcome everyone. This is Business Conversation with Charles. Basically, what we're trying to achieve every single time we have this meeting is trying to ensure that people have a good head start for whatever they have. You know, a lot of times we call it business, but truth be told, it's a dream that just has to come true. And so people need to be able to understand the simplicity, around doing things. So I'm one that believes that whatever you make complex actually becomes far difficult for you to handle. And there's no other person that does it best than Mr. Aaron. So I'm just going to be reading out, a bit of his bio. And amazing. This is someone I don't need a bio to actually welcome because he's a mentor of mine, and he's really been a very strong pillar of strength for me in so many ways. It's really a privilege to have. So if you're on the call and you want to share this with some people, sorry, if you are on Instagram, we just had a last minute flop on Instagram. The streaming link did not actually hit well, did not really come live. So we just have to use Facebook. But we're going to have the re-edited version of this meeting, and then we'll also go now. We're going to be able to have maybe on the YouTube link. Yeah. So sorry. While the conversation is on, I'll still try and work my best to still get Instagram on. But just a little bit about Mr. Aaron Decker, an amazing leader. He's someone that has actually survived a life-threatening farm incident or accident, endured 16 surgeries with unwavering determination, and then he became a two-time Rodeo Sport champion, a two-times world champion in the Rodeo Sport, and founded and still currently leads the Roanoke Ranch for kids, a thriving nonprofit in Michigan. He's an expert negotiator, renowned for his adeptness in negotiating deals for companies, securing advantageous agreements and partnerships, skilled at fostering collaboration and unity and cooperative decision making. Instrumental in driving business growth and profitability through strategic negotiations and collaborative venture. He's an accomplished direct sales team builder that I know for sure, recognized as a part of the esteemed Founders Club and Partner Council, achieving the highest rank in all of North America, and honored with the Distinguished Vision Award for exemplary leadership and contribution to into the industry. He's an impactful speaker, an influencer, inspirational speaker, captivating crowds of 5,000 in Hong Kong and delivering keynote speeches, at prestigious events across the United States and presently in Africa. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. He's known for his compelling message of resilience, entrepreneurship, integrity, and community impact, inspiring audience worldwide. This is someone I know very well. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's really my honor to have our special guest, Mr. Aaron Decker, on the call. And I promise it's going to really be an impactful conversation. I have never left his presence without having my mind shifted, when you talk about paradigm shift. And so it's an honor. Without me flogging, let me don't take all the sport and all the time. We like to keep it very simple and conversational. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome to the stage Mr. Aaron Decker. Just give us a little bio of himself. I know I've said some, but your own words. Just give a little bio, and then we'll just start up from there.
Charles, I'm just honored to be here, and it's so much fun working with people that are passionate about helping and serving others like you. No matter what someone is looking for, like you mentioned, we talk a lot about business or team building, but the things that we talk about are applicable to life. And so today I'll relate things that are real life scenarios to give you examples of what I'm talking about, both that you can apply in business, but also apply into other aspects of your life. My biggest passion is my wife and I run a ranch for at-risk kids. It's called Roanoke Ranch for Kids. It's a faith-based nonprofit. And honestly, through all the years of investment of time and effort and money in building a business, the one driving force was something that was a vision that I wanted to do to give back. And giving back was, working with and supporting at-risk youth. So that's what we're blessed to do. And we live here in Michigan. We've got just under 190-acre ranch. We've got about 20 horses, 20 head of cattle. And, we're just passionate about helping and serving others. So looking forward to today.
Awesome. Thank you. That was really wonderful. And amazing. I know we're going to talk about the ranch in a bit because, my heart gets touched every single time you tell me about everything that happens in the ranch and how you are helping so many at-risk kids and so much. But just to give a kicking point for today's meeting is conversations with Charles, business conversations. We're trying to ensure that every already entrepreneur or would-be entrepreneur has the basic knowledge, skill, experience that is needed for them to grow their business, especially in a time like this where things sound a bit tough, not just in Africa, not just in Nigeria, but around the world. It takes, we were having a conversation yesterday and we said something that was very key, that it takes leaders to be able to understand the entropy in the time and still be able to live above it. So the first question basically would be, what would you naturally say to a world of people that have come to understand that if they must grow, they need to have businesses, they need to have side incomes, they need to have, ideas that can actually become value that people can pay them for? What do you think the today entrepreneurs need to grow their business and stay afloat of the present situations that we have right now?
So today is interesting, right? So the world that we live in today is not like the world of even 3-4 years ago. It's definitely not the world of 5 to 10 years ago. In entrepreneurship, it used to be, Charles, where you could invest a little, or in most cases, a lot of money. You could have a structure, right? A bricks and mortar business, and you could go out and you could build that business and you could work hard and you could get employees and you could empower them. And really you could drive any kind of business that you chose. Except for in recent years, we learned some of those entrepreneurs, because of things outside of their control, i.e. shutdowns. I mean, think about it. We experienced global shutdowns of communities, countries, states. Well, that directly affected entrepreneurs. So right here in my hometown, in my mind, I'm thinking of 3 or 4 that I know personally that had worked businesses for 20, 30, 40 years. They had bricks and mortar. They were successful. They put everything into it. And then just like that, they were told, you cannot open for business because you are not a necessity going through what the world went through a few years ago. Wow. And so like any good entrepreneur, they took their savings, they took their hard-earned money that they had saved for a rainy day or for retirement. And what they did is they took that to keep their businesses going, to keep paying the debts, to keep paying the bills, right? Because nobody knew when they were going to be able to turn the lights back on and put, yes, we're open for business. Well, you know what? Most of them that I'm thinking about right now, they went out of business. Not only did they go out of business, but it took all of their life savings trying to keep it afloat. So we can step back and say, well, I don't think that that'll ever happen again. Now, I pray that it never happens again, but we can never be sure or certain that it won't, can we? Because it's happened once, therefore it's very likely or possible to happen again. Now, if we would have had that conversation 5 years ago, I bet you every entrepreneur you know and I know anywhere in the world would have said, there's no way that they'll ever shut people down from doing business. Not on a scale like we saw. So Charles, today, an entrepreneur needs to have, in my opinion, a backup plan, something that they can do to generate cash flow from their home. You see, I know, and I can personally say that during that period when I'm watching everybody get shut down, actually a business that we have that we work from home exploded. In fact, the interesting thing is our expenses plummeted and our income exploded. Why? Because the world was taught just what we're doing today. You're in Nigeria, I'm in the US in Michigan, and we're talking as if we're together. You see, previous to the conundrum, this wasn't normal. This was more the exception, not the rule. Today, grandma knows how to use Zoom because she talks to her grandkids.
Yes,
you see, the world was conditioned to be able to work from home. And so what was once kind of taboo in the world aspect of entrepreneurship, oh, a home business, yeah, that's just one of those things. Today, it's like, oh, you've got a home business? What is it? I'm working from home too. So entrepreneurship today, I believe that everyone, no matter where you're at on that spectrum, at the very least needs to have some kind of, we'll call it a side hustle or side business that they can do from home, just in case, as a backup plan.
Wow. Wow, that's really amazing. So backup plan. And in putting this into context, I know you're someone that's very good at analogy. How would you, for example, there's also this belief, cutting across different continents, different parts. Does this feeling for people within this area of the world or African country to think that, oh, it's easier for business people like yourself in the United States, and then it's difficult for us? I try to make people understand that business is not just about methods, it's about principles. The same principles that work in the United States is going to work here. Of course, we know that there are different factors like what they call ease for doing business in places and different things. So I would like to talk a little bit about that, so people don't think, oh, it's juicy and easier for people over there, and then over here it's not cool.
So that's a great question, and it's so funny. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was in high school, right? So I've never had a job. I've always owned businesses. In every business that I've ever done, and it's only been a few, but I've been very blessed because of I stayed focused. But every time, you always get people. So here in the US, people say, oh, you don't understand. People in my town don't do things like that, right? And then what's interesting is here you're saying that people in Nigeria are saying people in the US have it easy, when it's just the opposite. Here, a lot of people in the US say, oh, I wish I was in Nigeria because they have it easy. You see, here's one thing that I know about people, right? Unless you are a true entrepreneur, and by the way, I believe you either are or you aren't. You're either born with an entrepreneurial spark. Now, it maybe need to be ignited or lit on fire, but it's either there or it's not. I don't, this is my own belief, but I believe there are some that they're just not meant to be or designed to be entrepreneurs, and that's okay. But many, I would say the mass majority, do have a spark inside. But what it takes is then you to find a way to ignite that spark and start to set that on fire. We can talk about that. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the attractor factor and how you can attract that yourself. But, everybody anywhere in the world is always saying, no, people that in my circle or people in my community or people in my country, that's just an excuse. Because you and I both know people on both sides of the spectrum. You know people in your country that are amazing entrepreneurs that are flourishing right now. I know people in my country, in my community, that are amazing entrepreneurs that are flourishing right now. I love, I've been a part of an industry, and they always said, the J months, January, June, and July, those are the slowest, worst months. Okay, I can tell you from experience, we always made sure that those were our best months. Why does the masses say one thing, but then different people can go prove the masses' opinion wrong? Why is it? What is it? And that's really the thing that you want to peel back and say, what is that magic? What is that X factor? What is that attractor factor that makes those people that go against what everybody else says, and they seem to be successful? Is it luck? I would say no.
Wow, that's powerful. So luck doesn't So luck is not part of it.
The only part of luck, and this is not mine, and you've probably heard this, and if you haven't, you should remember it. What luck stands for is laboring under correct knowledge. And the part that most people don't like about that analogy is the first letter, laboring. Under correct knowledge. So once you have the knowledge, you must what? You must labor, i.e., you have to work, and you got to be willing to outwork everybody else. That's luck. So if that's your definition of luck, yep, I've been lucky in my life. But if your definition of lucky is like winning the lotto, sorry, I don't believe that exists.
Amazing, amazing. All right, thank you. That was really wonderful. At least we've been able to clear some major things. Now, one of the major things that I believe is in the mind of a lot of business people watching this right now, a lot of people just listening to this, is understanding how to make a connection, which we're now driving into what the topic of today is. Understanding how to make a connection. Let me use the word with the other person. I am a believer that if you go to the market, you're going to do either two things. You're either going to market to sell or you're going to market to buy. If you go to the bank, it's the same no-brainer as well. You go to the bank as well to either deposit money or you're going to withdraw, or maybe there are little issues. So when it comes to business also, one very critical aspect is the connection between the value provider and the person buying the value. So a lot of times people don't understand there's quite a whole world of knowledge that they need to have in understanding the connection between the value producer or the business owner and the person that's in need of the value. And so people get angry that the business is not moving. Some now say it's because the industry has a problem, or it's because of economic reasons. So what would you say as starting up, on the attraction factor, so people understand how critical that aspect is to business?
Okay, so my answer to that would be, and this again, just my opinion is this, and I'm going to relate it to what we do with the kids, right? Now, I've never personally had my own kids, and some people might say, well, you don't understand, Aaron, you've never had your own children. But I've been a part of thousands of kids' lives. In fact, I've got 6 kids now that pretty much call me on a regular basis. And these are some of the, in some cases, some pretty troubled kids, right? And so they're fantastic and I love them just like they're my own. But more times than not, they're calling me with problems and issues, not solutions and good days. Does that make sense? And there's a couple things, and again, relating this to business. So many times in business, whatever your product or service is, what we do as the seller or the opportunist, right, the entrepreneur, is we go to our customers and we meet them where we want them to be at, as opposed to meeting them where they're at. Okay, what do I mean by that?
That's powerful.
I can't talk to one of my kids as if they're on this level because I want them to be on that level. I have to find out, i.e., I have to listen more. I have to be compassionate. I have to be patient, sometimes extremely patient, till they can voice whatever their problems, issues, or what the day has brought them, or the challenges that they have. And then I have to come right down to their level and look at it from their level, not look at it from my level. And every time that you and I, as entrepreneurs, are able to listen and meet them where they're at on whatever level. So if they're coming at it from the perspective of, well, you don't understand, I can't afford it. Well, I better get down to that level of, okay, if I was at a point in my thinking was so that I couldn't afford it, what would I need to go through to switch that to I can't to I can? You see, I can't come at it from here because I'm the one that might be doing the selling in this case of a product or service. So I can't come at it there. I have to flip it and come at it from their perspective. Does that make sense? And when you do that, there is, in your words, there's that connection, or you could say there's that attraction that starts to happen. The walls and the barriers start to come down because typically it's never the first or second layer of the onion. That's just a flippant excuse of, I don't understand, I'm insecure, I've never really done anything like this, I'm uncertain. And so as we can peel those layers back and get to what the real root cause is, i.e., by being at their level and not being better than them and not looking down on them. When I work with the kids, Charles, I actually get down, literally physically get down to their level. If I'm sitting with you and you're my customer and you and I are sitting here, I will never sit taller than you. I will always sit smaller than you. I will always put my shoulders back and be open. My demeanor, my physical traits, I'll always make sure that I'm open. I'll never come like this. I'm not going to come at you like this. I'm not going to be above you. Does that make sense? Because all of these things are intimidating, and you now feel, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that I am believing that I'm more powerful and more knowledgeable than you, and you should look at me, and then you start to resist. But if I make sure that you feel empowered, and I then become relatable, realistically, not in a sales or any kind of gimmick tactic kind of way, but in a genuine, real, transparent, authentic kind of way, and I'm open, all of a sudden, the truth of what you're worried about, whether it's purchasing a product, becoming part of a business, whatever that is, all of a sudden we can get to that. We meet at that level. We have that conversation. That's the connection that you and I as entrepreneurs want to have. From that, here's the magic. It does not matter what happens after that. Whether it's a yes, I want to purchase, yes, I want to be a part of whatever entrepreneur idea that you have or not, that then becomes insignificant because that connection, i.e., that relationship, is a seed that will either come to fruition right then, or in some cases, and I would say in many cases, down the road.
Amazing. That's really powerful. So from everything I heard, it now becomes important that that's what we refer to as knowing the person that you're trying to reach out to, or knowing your audience in some classical context. Practically, what are some methods you think in present day? We know we used to have things people do years ago, word of mouth and all that. In present day, how would you appeal to the person that doesn't necessarily have the major budget, to run a major campaign or to do something to involve? What are those things you've just mentioned on, which is very important? So you need to know the people you're reaching out to. You need to also understand how to, in my own words, if I should qualify everything you said, you need to know how to align with wherever they are. So I think that also makes them comfortable. So one of the very things in today's present day generation, what in your own words would be the right thing for an individual to do in terms of methods in trying to catch more crowd, either a new customer base or increasing their present customer base if they already have a business?
Okay, so now I'm going to give you an analogy. All right, and you know that I like to do this, and so the analogy that I'm going to use is about the ranch. And you're frozen, and I hope we're still good. So we have a benefit that's coming up, okay? And we do it every single year. It's how we help support all of the kids that come here, because we don't charge any kid or any organization to come to and through our program, okay? And so every year we've had the same auctioneer, and he does just an amazing job. And every year I can pretty much count on who's going to fill up a table, and we've only got so much space. And so 2-3 weeks ago, all of a sudden I find out, and maybe it was just 2 weeks ago, sorry, the auctioneer can't come. Well, from that, it creates this snowball of negativity. Not necessarily, but a little bit in my part, but all of a sudden now I've got, well, maybe we should change the date so he can come. And then you've got other people saying, well, wait a minute, my guests are already committed to coming on such and such a date. By the way, it's only a few weeks away, right? So all of this is happening. And then in my mind, I start to let just a little bit creep in of self-doubt, because just for a moment, I started to ask the wrong question. And the question is, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? What if nobody comes? What if it's a disaster? Okay, now think about it. Even right now, I start to feel anxious. And really quickly, you got to stop and you got to flip it, right? No. What good can come out of this? Is this we're supposed to find some other auctioneer, so we never have anything like this? One person that always sponsors a table, and that table produces quite a bit of donations, isn't coming this year. Well, you know what? Maybe we're just expanding and we need to get the word out to other people. Well, how do you do all that stuff, right? So all of a sudden, it seems like all of the dominoes are falling down, right? The castle's falling apart, and pretty soon you're going to be exposed. What do? Well, you do what a real entrepreneur, or and I say this humbly, and this is from years of doing it wrong. So I'm not saying that I'm anything, except for I've learned the lessons that you have to stop the negative questions, start asking positive questions, and then take ownership. There's a book I highly recommend it. It's called Extreme Ownership. It was written by 2 Navy SEALs. I'll think of their names in a minute, but right now but it's Extreme Ownership. Unbelievable book, right? And when you decide to take ownership and then step up into that leadership role, and then, Charles, it goes back to massive action. And then here's something that a lot of people, in my opinion, don't rely on enough as a leader or an entrepreneur, or both, which is be humble and ask for help. So here's what I didn't do. I didn't make a post and send a couple texts and hope that things were going to work out. Right? So many of us in our business, we think, well, if we make a post or maybe send a few messages or a few texts, somehow magically it'll all work out. See, unfortunately, the world of technology works for us, but it also works against us, because it's an easy way out of, well, I tried. Never try business. If you're going to be in business, be in business. Don't try it. Try broccoli, try Brussels sprouts, try carrots. Don't try business. Do business, right? So I got on the phone and I started making phone calls. I started asking for help. Every person that I could run it, every person. Hey, listen, I got a tough year. First of all, who do you know that might be willing to help us out as an auctioneer? Started spreading the word, spreading the word, spreading the word, spreading the word, spreading the word. I don't know anymore. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Next, hey, I need some help this year. Would you? I'm on the phone to people that don't even live in my state. Hey, listen, so-and-so, would you be willing to, you know what? We've been friends a long time, or you've seen what we do at the ranch. I need your help this year. I lost a lot of my big sponsors. Would you be willing to maybe take on it and you know, kind of head up and try to sponsor a horse this year? Hey, would you be willing to, somebody local, I really need your help. Would you be willing to help me fill a table? Or maybe you could sponsor a table and fill it. And Charles, we took massive action. Guess what today? Ironically, honestly, I could show you the text. This is not more than an hour and a half ago, I promise you. I'm now calling some of the people on my board saying, hey, stop inviting people. We have too many.
Wow.
We have too many. In fact, guess what? The auctioneer, he said, yeah, I'd like to be the auctioneer, but can I also sponsor and fill a table? One of my board members said, you know what? Hey, I've got too many responses. I need 2 tables. Another person said, I got a table, but so does my friend. And I'm like, we've only got so much. We're already over capacity. Now, guess what the next problem is that entrepreneurs face? It's going too good. How do you manage that? You know what? You manage it. You think through. And there's a way that it all works out. But let's just go back to your question. How do you get more customers? How do you get more business? You take responsibility. You take massive action. Don't be too proud to ask for help. Name me any business, and I can go through those same three things and grow your business. Any business. I don't care if it's a lawn care business. I don't care if it's a lemonade stand. I don't care if it's a network marketing business. I don't care what kind of business. I don't care if you're a manufacturing business. I don't care if you're a makeup business. Tell me the business. Apply those three things and watch your business grow. And if you do it and you do it with passion and you do it with an unwavering sense that no matter what, if it's to be, it's up to me. Yes, other people are going to be attracted to your energy, and other people, even though that you didn't talk to them. See, what I didn't realize is because of my energy, i.e. mine and my wife's, and that decision to just let's go, other people that weren't even involved in that conversation were attracted and are actually doing stuff that I didn't even expect them to do. Does that make sense? That is the epitome of the attractor factor. Energetically, people around you will start doing that which you set out to do, even if they weren't in on that conversation. It just happens. And then people sit back and they say, Charles, you were so lucky. How did that happen? But see, what they weren't willing to do is to roll up their sleeves, humble themselves, and go get it done. And then I'll do everything in our power. We'll ask for help. We've got a great board. We've got great support. And you know what? That evening will be what that evening will be. I can't predict the outcome. I can just, in my head, I already believe what the outcome will be, right? Like I see it. I have a vision of what it will be. And I will work towards that. And here's what I believe. It'll be better than what I see. And guess what? And sometimes it's not. Most of the times it is, by the way. But when it's not, what do I take away from it? It worked. It worked. So next time when something goes bad, whether it's in business or personal life or whatever it is, what do? Well, you've got now the recipe, right? You've got the recipe. You've just got to go do it again. And then people say, Charles, well, how many times do I got to do that? You do it till you don't have to do it anymore. There is no number. I don't think you're ever done. Because once you get whatever it is, your business growing, then there's something that you're passionate about. Maybe it's a nonprofit. Well, it's the same principles. And then maybe once you get that going, and maybe now they're both successful, well, you're not going to stop there. It's not like you sit down and then you go after something else. Maybe you're going to go help a church grow. Maybe you're going to go help another local nonprofit grow. Well, guess what you have to do? You have to go through that same scenario over and over and over. And you do it as many times as it takes in each area until it starts to catch on. And then what happens is ultimately in traditional business, you'll start to attract vice presidents or managers that will take on the similarity process that you're teaching them because they'll be attracted to that. The ones that don't want to do that, they'll just go ahead and fade away. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that it just means that they weren't right for that partnership in what you are going to work and go build. But so many of us, we get attached. So instead of attracting, we get attached to the ones that it doesn't work for, and we fall with them instead of attracting the ones that we want to because we're headed in a different direction.
Wow. That was like a gunshot, in my mind. That was really powerful. So how do we get entangled from such kind of attachment and continue on the journey of attraction? Because I think that's exactly one of the challenges a lot of people have. So we now become emotionally attached to what is not working. And then as a business consultant, I've seen that over and over again. I get to meet different people, and this person says, oh, the business is not working, the people there, it looks like. So it's just like this statistical data they get for why it's not working is from the people that they get attached to. That was really a very powerful point. I just got to really understand it fully. So they are getting the wrong data and the wrong energy from the people that they are attached to. rather than stay on the journey of attracting the people that they need to get into the boat. That was really powerful. So what are practical points to help people detach from what I would refer to not just as attachment, but detach from the past and get on the proper journey to the future?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. And I want to come back to that question, but I want to give you another quick little story. So years ago, I was in a direct sales company, and I partnered up with some guys, and we did an experiment. And we took a 10,000 square foot office building that had offices, cubicles. We put in a library. We had a lunch area. We had a products and service room. We had an auditorium with soft seating. We had coffee. We had conference rooms. We had a receptionist. And we would allow anybody that was a part of our organization to utilize that for free. Okay, so that's number one. So we created the center where people could, instead of just a home-based business, they could invite them to this beautiful facility. All right, next, we took some people that we believed in and that we believed they had what it takes. They had the desire, and we said, you know what? Let's give them a weekly paycheck. So we're going to pay them financially to build their own business. So we're going to take the financial pressure off. We're going to pay them so they got a guaranteed income while they build their own business. And in theory, it should have worked tremendously. Here's what happened. They would come to the office in the first week or two, things went okay. But then when they actually had to start working, well, they'd come in a little bit later, they'd hang out by the coffee machine, and they'd start complaining about all the people that didn't show up or the things that didn't work out. And pretty soon, I wouldn't even go in there because it was such a negative space. I never went to the office, and they had given me this big corner office with a big desk. I was never there. I was out doing what? Building my business. It was unbelievable. And I thought, what is it? What's wrong? Well, here's what I came up with. They didn't really want it. They wanted somebody to give them a free ticket. The thought of owning their own time sounded good. The thought of being their own boss sounded good. But they'd never been free. And so once they were free, they didn't know what to do with their time. Guess what they did? They wasted it. Because nobody was going to fire them. And they knew they were going to get paid whether they did anything or not. You see, you have to first decide, do I want to be an entrepreneur? And what does that mean? And what is it that's going to drive me through the tough times? Because I got news for you. Not just because you're an entrepreneur, not just because you're in business. Life has many, many, many tough days. How do you get through them? Well, unfortunately, in the world we live in today, most people don't. They just pretend to. They get sucked into looking at everybody else winning supposedly on social media when most of that is fake. And then we go down a spiral because we're comparing ourselves to somebody else's fake life while we're sitting there knowing that we're not doing anything that we set out to do, that we promised ourselves that we would do. So it's set up against us. Well, how do you switch that? I mean, how do you fix that? It's really, really hard and really, really simple all at the same time. You got to make a decision. You know, that word in itself, decision, right, is to cut off all other options. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be responsible, and I'm going to design my life, and I'm willing to work through no matter what comes my way to get there. Don't be surprised by obstacles, challenges, and trials. Don't be surprised by them. Don't expect them, but don't be surprised by them. And when they come, say, oh, yep, here's one of those. I knew I was going to have to work around it, through it, over it, or under it. I knew it. So let's just do it. Well, you don't understand. We're in hyperinflation. Well, can you control that? I can't. What can I control? What I do today. how I act, my attitude, my actions, my activity, right? 3 A's. My attitude, my actions, and my activities. I can control those things. I can even control B, my belief in what I'm doing, my belief in myself. And that A plus B is going to equal C, which is cash and cash flow, right? Here's what I can't control. I can't control what the government's going to do. I can't control what other people are going to do. I can't control the weather. I can't control the media. I can't control the banking systems. I can't control what's on my phone or not on my phone as far as social media goes. I can't control any of that stuff. But my attitude, my actions, and my activity, I can control that. I can control my belief system. And then I decide to cut off all of the negativity. I decide what's going to drive me. And then I also decide on the vehicle that's going to get me there. And then you got to have tunnel vision and an unwavering determination to go. And you can't, as Les Brown said, you can't let anybody turn you around. Don't let anybody turn you around. So many times in life, again, another Les Brown thing, right? Life knocks us down. What do? We stay down. And then we complain about being knocked down. Think about it. And then what do? We attract other people that have been knocked down that are on the ground.
Wow.
And then they reinforce because they want somebody to reinforce why it's okay for them to stay down. Now we're all on the ground, wiggling around saying, man, I can't believe this happened to me. Yeah, it happened to me. Boy, poor you, poor you. Pretty soon, there's a whole pile of people over here all wallowing around in the mud and on the ground complaining about what? Being knocked down. But you see, you got to listen to what Les said when life knocks you down and take this literally. When you land on your back, look up, i.e. pray, God, give me the strength to get up one more time, one more day, go do it once again. And then you get up and you go do it again. And if life knocks you down, say, I'm not going to sit down there with all those complainers. I'm not gonna sit there and complain and reinforce why they shouldn't get back up. I'm going to get up and I'm going to get up. And how many times do you get up, Aaron? As many as it takes. As many as it takes.
Wow. Those are some amazing points. So I remember some years ago, I had we're in business, and this particular staff came in and said, oh, this other people had opened up a business, they are all suited, and they are great. They seem to be doing better than us. And I since I know he was not just a staff, but he was also a mentee, I had to make him understand that it's not just about, having all the glamours, all the great things. That's what people want to see. But you have to settle it within. The person that he's traveling, let's take, for example, 1,000 miles, it's not going to be foiled with the same, let's imagine vision is actually petrol or foil. It's not going to be foiled with the same vision as somebody that's just traveling for 12 miles. So they are all having different ideas. So what you said was very powerful, which I just took. One of the major things at the end of the day is that the individual, more than working on every other thing, must first of all work on himself or herself. So personal leadership actually very key. What are other factors you think? Because this is another issue I think a lot of people have. Because when you tell them, oh, I have a lot of people I tell, there's this thriving thing, let's do this, let's be part of this. And that's just this hidden fear. Because again, I took something that you said very strongly. We've attached so much to the past, especially to past failures, that we don't know now how to attract future success. So by so doing, people don't even have the appetite to try again. Now they failed yesterday. So how do you help people understand that despite the failures, despite the attachment, it becomes very important? How do you make people understand that they need to, because the future is at stake if they don't decide. Indecision is actually a killer of time. So how do you get people to really understand that despite everything that happened, you just must jump into the boat and move to the future?
So let me ask you a question. I don't know what the statistics are in Nigeria, but do a lot of people in Nigeria work a job? Yes or no?
Yes, they do. Sure.
Okay.
A lot of people.
Do you know anybody that's had more than one job?
Not really. Yeah. I think, yeah. Of course.
So do you think most people, they get one job when they're about 18 years old, they work that for 30, 40, 50 years and they retire? The same job. Here's what I can tell you statistically. The average American changes jobs or careers 9 to 11 times and still statistically retire broke.
Wow.
So based on what you just said for entrepreneurs, where they said, well, I tried that before and it didn't work. My question back to the person is have you ever had a job? Yes. Have you had more than one job? Yes. How many jobs have you had? 3, 4, 5, 6. Why after the first 1 or 2 didn't you just quit and say these jobs don't work and just stay home? And here's the answer always. Well, I got to make money. Really? But I don't know that I have that much faith. You see, you go get a job, you're relying on somebody like we're giving you the opportunity to be to make decisions. And if they make a bad decision, they might not even pay you your retirement that they promised you, which happens here in the US all of the time. I know people that work 30, 40 years for major Fortune 100 companies. They were promised a retirement. The company went bankrupt. They got nothing. How much do you have? 30, 40 more years to go try again? Are you willing to risk trying to rely on somebody to make a decision for you, your family, and your future? Wow, you got a lot more faith than I do. Boy, if you want to second guess something, second guess working for someone. Now, I'm not saying working for somebody is bad. Don't get me wrong and don't take that wrong. But you got a lot more faith than I do than, hey, I tried business. That didn't work. I'll try another one. That didn't work. I'll try another one. And then here's what I realized. I got to quit trying them and start doing them. You see, Charles, again, that's what most people do. Most people try business. Business owners do business. Entrepreneurs do business. They don't try it. And they do it as long as they can until there's something that says this absolutely unequivocally will not work, because there's no one else in this company or in this industry that it's working for, so it must not work anymore. But if you can find one other individual somewhere in the world doing exactly what it is with the company that you're doing or the process that you're doing, if somebody else is successful, that means that you too can be successful.
Sure.
So use the same lens to look at your current job or occupation as you do as being an entrepreneur. Here's the thing. What they're really saying is, it goes back to the onion. It's not, well, I've tried those and they just never have worked for me. What they're really saying is, I never really gave it a real honest effort, and I just don't know that I want to work that hard. It's easier to have an excuse to not have than to not have an excuse and have. I'm going to say that one more time. It's easier to have an excuse and not have than it is to not have an excuse and have. You see, it comes back to, if it's to be, it's up to me. I must take 100% responsibility for myself, my finances, my family, and my future. When I give that responsibility to others, I'm hoping and wishing that they know what they're doing and it will work out for me. And we all know statistically that it's not going to. It's not. And if we would step back and look at statistics, because see, people lie, companies lie, but real statistics don't. They're just numbers. And if you look at the numbers of people that bought into the idea that I have to go to college, get a good job because I got a good degree and I work for 30 or 40 years and it's going to work out for me. Tell me how many people you can find that they did that and they're living the life that they dreamed of. Because I bet you out of 10,000, you might find one, maybe two. Go show me 10,000 entrepreneurs that gave it everything. And the statistics, I don't know the numbers, so I'm not going to quote it, but I would be willing to wager quite heavily that a huge percentage of them are at least living a life that they wanted to live. They are leaving a legacy behind for their families. One doesn't. And that's why I believe, without getting too political, that's why a lot of people just want governments to take care of them, because they've laid down, they've given up. And the biggest reason is because nobody wants to take responsibility for their own actions, their own mistakes. Nobody wants to stand up and say, you know what? I'm just going to do a little bit more than everybody else. You know, Art Williams is a guy that came up with a direct sales company here that sold insurance in the United States. And Art says, you know, the difference between somebody that's successful, i.e., we're going to use success in this conversation, business-wise, financially, to a point where they don't have to wake up and worry about what they got to earn, but they wake up and decide what they're going to do, right? That's success to me, right? Okay. So I don't wake up every morning going, man, I got to go earn some money to pay the bills. You wake up and decide what you want to do, not based on the money that you got to make. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
Art said, you know, the difference between somebody successful and somebody that's not is the successful person does everything the unsuccessful person does, but just a little bit more. And Charles, it's that little bit more every day, compounded over time, right? Read a book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. You want to talk about compound effect, right? It's doing a little bit every day stacked on top of each other. A little bit more, a little bit more. And pretty soon it's this momentum, this personal momentum that goes and it starts to grow just like compound interest in the bank. That's the difference. That's the magic. You got to be willing to work just a little bit more than everybody else, because everybody else is looking for an easy way out. Everybody else has already given up. Everybody else doesn't believe that they can live the life that they design because they've conformed. I dislike that word immensely. They've conformed to what the world says that they're worth and what their life should be like. In the moment you conform, in my opinion, you might as well put me in the grave. Why would you and I allow someone else to create our own destiny? Because we weren't willing to work, because we weren't willing to try, do, have, lose, do it again, lose, do it again. Look at the success stories. Don't even take my word for it. Name them. The easiest one for me is Walt Disney. Filed bankruptcy 11 times. Disney World. It's known all over the world. Study the mega successful. Look at how many times it didn't work. But see, they weren't focused on it didn't work. They knew that one time it would. And then we all talk about the one time that it did as if that's all they did. We forget about all of I don't even like to say the word failures, but all of the things that didn't work, right? We never talk about that. You look in the direct sales or the network marketing industry, we focus on all of the people that were successful. But if you lined them all up, they'd tell you about all the times that it didn't work. But they stuck with it long enough to the one time that it did. And they'll all tell you it wasn't magic. They just did what we've been talking about. And they did everything that you would do and everything that I would do, but a little bit more. Compounded over time. And they looked around and they told themselves, if someone else is in my company and they're having success, i.e. financially where they want to be, and the company still exists, then I have no excuse to go try to find something that's easier, faster, and better, because obviously I chose this based on those set of criteria. Now I got to look at me, because if there's one other person somewhere in the world that's having success with that, I said this before, I'm going to say it again because it's really important. If you're a part of an opportunity, if you're an entrepreneur that's a part of any kind of business with any kind of company, and you can find one other person that's successful doing that, why would you go somewhere else and try to start over thinking that it's going to be easy? I've got cows like that. That's what I said. I got cows like that. My cows, I've got luscious pastures. They're always looking for a hole in the fence because for some reason, a cow thinks there must be something better on the other side of the fence. You know what? Rarely is there something better on the other side of the fence. They spend most of their day looking to how to get out when all they got to do is just go ahead and capitalize on what they've got. What do they got to do? They got to eat the grass. They got to work at eating. But they think there must be an easier way. Like if they get out of the fence, somebody's going to feed them.
Yeah.
Where they can just sit down and they'll just spoon feed them. Nope. Doesn't exist. The grass isn't greener. You just got to be able to cultivate and work your grass, right?
Yeah. Wow, this is a powerful point. Amazing, amazing. If we end here, we've done quite an amazing. I know we still got just some few minutes, and we're going to touch last words. But just in conclusion, you helped me last year. That was something we were doing, and it was like I was in position A, and then you were telling me to achieve something in E. And I think I had used the word I was going to try. And you said, Charles, what are you saying? Are you going to try? You asked me 3 times, and I said, no, I'm going to do it. And all of a sudden, I don't know where it came from. So why I'm asking this question is a lot of times I discover that the faster one detaches from the old way of doing things, the old crowd, the old system, and becomes stubbornly in pursuit of new ways of doing things automatically change. And I can say from that time henceforth, and in case anyone is on the call, this is actually my mentor. So if you've seen quite a number of highlights, top points, is because I have someone like Mr. Aaron Decker that I'm actually standing on his shoulder. And then I have a couple of, top mentors as well, but he's actually one very key part of anything around success. And what you helped me do was to break the ceiling where I can now see beyond the walls of maybe the Nigeria country or the African continent to actually see the way any other person around the world would say. What would you say to the entrepreneur listening right now, the business person listening right now that feels they can't think about international business? We are doing something together right now, which is international. Right now, everybody around the world is becoming part of that. And then you get people still are in that myopic place where they don't think that there's anything that seems to be outside their comfort zone is too risky for them or is too good to be true. What do you speak to that?
All right, 2 things. First of all, I got to address comfort zone. Everybody talks about getting out of your comfort zone. Here's the thing. Why don't you step into your comfort zone? You see, your comfort zone is creating your own life. Your comfort zone is doing whatever you want, not worried about what others think. I'm going to prove it to you right now. When you were born, how many, go to church tomorrow and go look at the young little kids that can just start to walk and talk and observe them. You want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, go watch the little ones. Why? They are not worried about what people think, and they don't take no for an answer. They will dance. They'll poop their pants. They'll yell and scream until they get what they want. They don't care who's watching. They're not worried about what others' opinions are. They'll do whatever it takes to get what they want. And guess what? You possess that. What happened? By the way, that's your true comfort zone. Being real, authentically you. What happened? The world, your surroundings put you in a box. And now the box that the world put you in, you call your comfort zone. That's your uncomfortable zone. You just learned to conform living in your uncomfortable zone.
Wow.
Think about it. Show me a baby that's worried about screaming to get what they want, that's worried about what the other people in church are thinking about them or the other people in the grocery store are thinking about them. They don't care. Look at your kids. They'll ask and ask and ask and ask and ask and ask and ask till it wears you out, and finally you say yes. They don't care. That's our true, authentic self. That's our comfort zone. Being who we want, not worried about what others think. And then all of a sudden we grow up and the world starts to put this box around us. And then we go, well, I guess I must stay in this box because if I get outside this box, people make me feel uncomfortable. So I better stay in my uncomfortable zone where I'll just conform and I'll make myself comfortable here.
Oh, well, what I just think, because of time and a lot of things, you've taught me excellence and also weight. So right now, I think we want to expand on that point because you taught something that's very, very, very it's a major challenge. I had to beat that. When you are at this level and you've now made the decision and you've broken through, people now start seeing you as proud. When people call you like they used to call, they don't get through to you because you are now busy, and there's a bit of enlargement because you're no longer with your comfort zone. They now feel you don't want to give the same level of attention. So that's a major part. So how do you become comfortable in your next level, missing the attachment of the earlier? Because sometimes if I had not gone in contact with you, I would have felt that I'm doing something wrong. God has elevated you to a point and you're at this level, and then everybody's making you now feel like because you are just one person outside the flock right now, that you're doing something wrong. How do you get people to build that staying power, resilience, and stubbornness to be so focused on where they're going to and not give a damn about where they're coming from?
Well, here's my personal opinion on that. First of all, as you break through each ceiling, right, in your own leadership journey, in your own success journey, one thing that I would say is always never forget where you came from.
Amazing.
And so you as an individual that's breaking through, you always got to remember where you came from. Never lose that, and do your best to continually answer those calls and be there. But now it's just a smaller amount of time frame, right? Because you have to spend the majority of your energy has to be going where the direction that you're going. I like the 90-10 rule, right? That comes out of a book, by the way, written about 2,000 years ago, right? That 10% number is a neat number in many ways. But always, I'm going to use the word tithe, 10% of your time to where you came from. Right? So as busy as I am today, again, I can show you my phone. I've got 5 or 6 kids that have come through our program. A couple of them call me every single day. And I will tell you, it's not always the easiest, because sometimes, whether it's a different business opportunity that I'm working on, or it's things at the ranch, or different thing, I got a lot going on, but I have to remember, wait a minute. I have to be present. How you doing? How's your day? I love you. I'm proud of you. Right? That brings me back and keeps me grounded. Now,
balance. Yeah.
The other part of what you said is there's going to be people saying, well, you don't have time for me. Okay. The world doesn't want to see you go and achieve, because then they have to look at themselves. And when they start to look at themselves, they don't really want to take a real look and say, wait a minute. It's not that I'm mad that he or she is growing and becoming successful. If I'm honest with myself, they invited me along and I chose not to, because I didn't believe in myself enough. And so I'm just going to personally attack them, so I don't have to look inward at my own lack of responsibility for my own actions and my own destiny. And so it's easier to attack those that are becoming successful than to look at ourselves and take responsibility. And it's sad, but that is the masses. I will tell you one last quick little story that will kind of make this point. Over my years, and I'm not going to say names, but very close people to me have come and borrowed money. Almost without fail, not everyone, but almost without fail, I can predict within a couple of months, if they didn't pay me back from the time that they said, they will find a way to be mad at me. They have to justify. So they'll pick my person, they'll pick me apart, they'll make up things. They got to create a story on why they don't have to pay that money back, because I'm this bad, horrible person. And interestingly enough, some of those lies that they've created have been perpetuated and even carried into others. Well, guess what? That's part of being successful. And then you and I get to choose. Do I keep doing that and keep believing in people? That's what I choose. You see, that's on them. It's not on me. They can say and do and, come against me all they want, but they know deep down, but so do you. And so do I. And so the last little piece of advice that I will give is, when life happens to you like that, as you're on your journey to success, any one of those instances, you are always faced with a choice. Your choice is to let those things make you bitter or make you better. Every single time, I implore you to choose better.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. This has truly been a wonderful time, and there is no doubt that we're going to be having. I was just trying to check within the chat room, and I really just appreciate everyone that jumped in. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tony. Mr. Tony said, from the words of Mr. Aaron, I get more formidable to do a little bit more and more until it is all done. And really, that's actually one person I know in our country that's really quite pressing, moving into new things. So thank you, everyone that joined in. Amazing. So, Mr. Tony, if you can just quickly drop the question on the chat room, I'll just read it out for Mr. Aaron so he sees it. So, sir, amazing perspective, amazing vision. And one last thing I just wanted to ask. I just got to, in my conversations with people, I got to understand that the top is a little bit lonely because sometimes you get to that apex position, and then, or not apex, basically, like you said, we're all on a journey. But you leave step one and you move to step two and notice that the higher you go, you're leaving the crowd and coming into the clouds. But it's a very lonely place because it's a place where at the end of the day, one would need to make certain key decisions that could either destroy or produce them. And something I've always learned, I've learned that a lot from reading books, that if you are at level 1 and you rise a bit, if you fall, you're still within safe margin. But if you're at level 1 and you move to level 10 and then the fall comes, it could really be very, very tough. So how do you maintain balance as a leader when you've left a particular level and you're going to this level? And what are those things? Because I've seen that in your life. You've said it over and over again. But I think for the benefit of everyone listening, what are those things people can do to ensure that they never allow anything move them back to square one, and they keep those attitudes, in focus?
Yeah. So, and I know that's a saying, it's lonely at the top. I think that's taken out of context though, right? It's lonely at the top means there's fewer people that have broke through those ceilings. So there's just fewer people when you look around. And it's not necessarily lonely. There's just fewer people that you're going to look around and complain to, right? It's crowded at the bottom because everybody's willing to complain with you.
Whoa.
Once you break through, it's not really lonely at the top. There's just nobody that's going to listen to your complaints that are on your level. And the people at the bottom, they'd love you to complain because that means that you're not at the top. Right? The other thing is it goes back to balance. But also the third factor there is this. If you're not continually growing yourself personally, here's what I personally believe and I've witnessed. You could explode. And if you're not growing to keep that explosion in whatever it is that you're doing, when you start to fall, you will go into a free fall that you cannot recover from. You won't handle the growth. I've seen people in business where they started to grow and their business met them, surpassed them, and they couldn't handle it. They left and their business kept going without them. So once you start to achieve or break through those levels towards the top, realize, yeah, there's not as many people to complain to, but you shouldn't be complaining. You should be a problem solver, not a problem. Right? Well, and then you should be pouring into your own personal development, whether it's through mentorship programs, whether it's through reading, listening, whatever it is that you need to continually grow yourself. But then you need to learn this last key thing. Learn how to ask yourself a better question. Your brain will always give you the answer. Always. Read Think and Grow Rich. Read it. Tell me that asking a question won't give you an answer. I'm not even gonna give it away because I want you to read the book. Read the book, and you'll find a place in there where the key person in the book started to ask a question. He asked that same question over and over and over and over and over and over and over all night long. And guess what? Finally, his subconscious mind gave him the answer. And we're still talking about it over 50 years later.
Wow. Mr. I definitely have to stop here. I wish we had. I know that if I keep you in the next 3 hours, this is what we enjoy personally. You've become that show that I can actually stand on. I'm able to discuss some very deep things, and it has gotten me to a place right now where I'm very unshakable. And I believe that with every word you've actually deposited, that's actually going to be out there. This is the reason I do this. I discovered these are the only things that somebody can listen to this podcast for another 10 years, next 10 years, and still find value. And so that's what I just want everybody to go back with, that this is actually what the business conversations with Charles is. Sometimes it's not about the things that we flog. Oh, it's lack of finances, it's lack of this. It's basically being able to attract the right people and be able to also walk around the right place. So you must have an eye for not just your vision where you're going to, but who can actually take you there. So I'm really so glad. Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron, for the amazing. Okay, he asked these questions. He says a quick one. He said, okay, I gave a lot for the rise of the youth in my nation, Nigeria, of which Mr. Charles is aware of a few. If my work, but if I often get frustrated not getting these youths into, okay, let me read it properly. I often get frustrated not getting these youths into place with the more I try. However, I've never stopped, but currently I feel so overwhelmed with the attitudes and less actions of these youths to opportunities I have come up with, even in recent times, and all that drags me slow, and all that drags me slow on my journey. My question is, should I quit or keep trying? Before I just allow you answer, just to also encourage Mr. Tony, I said something recent that people don't understand. People are watching you, just may never tell. A lot of people are watching you. I think consistency matters. I know the present program is on today, so we may not have conversed, but that's just to let you know, people know what is going on. So I would not say much. I would let Mr. Aaron answer that question, because I've been there, Mr. Aaron. Sure, it got to a point in my life where at the end of the day, the only thing that made sense was, Charles, get out of the country. Now, the reason for that is that several years ago, I had people come in from the United States and did a major, I think I was attributed to be maybe one of the very few people that brought some white people all the way from the United States. And they were in, I don't want to mention states, but they were in a particular state to do a program. And in my mind, you just have this mind, oh, you've brought some people that really had a good example. And then today, you almost cannot see anything. And then we also got a particular company that came to do something with the government of the day then. On the highest level, we had naval staffs, we have paramilitary, we had the Air Force come into that meeting, and it was supposed to be a value orientation program that was supposed to stream from the top to the down. So why am I saying this? If I want to complain about being frustrated, I will even be one of the person that would actually truly say, Charles, all the things you did in the past are, there are people that you must have mentored, and all of a sudden you're asking yourself, where are these guys? They don't blow your trumpet. And as a business consultant, this happens a lot. You would wish that you do something for certain businesses and they will sing your praise, so that at least it can be a form of referral benefit, that people are listening to you and then all of a sudden everybody zips up and you're almost like you. So I know what he's talking about. And why am I putting this in context? I'm just trying to explain to you some of the frustration a lot of value-based individuals in Nigeria face. So it looks like people are more interested in things that has to do with sorry, Mr. Aaron, well, this is in the next 2-3 minutes. I just released you. I know you've really stayed long. So the frustration for a lot of people is that they almost get to that point where, because of the frustration of trying to be selfless, they now forget every other person and then move into, let me take care of me. How do you deal with that situation?
Well, I'm going to try to go back to Tony. I will, but I'm going to try. I'm going to go back to Tony's question, which is, first of all, don't try, do, right? So we got to get rid of the word try. But the other thing is this, and I can just share my attitude, because it is hard and can be very challenging when you're serving, especially youth, especially in the world that we live in today. My attitude is if I can help one, it's enough. If I can help one make a difference, or when I help one make a difference, right? Like it's not even if, right? I don't even like the word if, right? If a frog had pockets, he'd carry a gun and shoot snakes. It's not if, it's you're focused on what you're doing. And so whatever the numbers are, but to me, it's always, as long as there's one life that I can impact in a positive way. And many times, and again, I don't know exactly what you do, but I'm in the seed planting business. And being in the seed planting business, many times you don't get to see the harvest, but you got to stay focused on planting the fields. You got to stay focused on doing what you can do to at least provide hope and opportunity, love, and belief in today's youth, because so many of them don't have that. It is not a rewarding position to be in. That is a choice. And if you've chosen that path, the path is not glamorous, but the path is necessary. And you got to have that, I'm going to do this, and I'm certain that it's making a result somewhere. I just might not be able to tangibly see that, but I'm going to believe it in my heart. And here's what I believe when you do that. Ultimately, God will give you little carrots, I call them. And sometimes I'll have a youth come back years later and say, Mr. Aaron, I don't know if you remember me, but I came through that ranch, and here's what that summer did in my life. And that keeps you going for another year, another 5 years, whatever it takes. So that's that. And if it gets too difficult, then you're going to have to reevaluate it. But I pray that you keep on the path that you're on.
All right. I'll make the connection. There's someone within my circle. I'll definitely make the connection. For everyone, thank you so much for everyone that joined in the call. We're truly so appreciative. We're all about value. Thank you so much. If you are on the chat or anywhere, please, you could just tell Mr. Aaron, thank you for me. I do appreciate you. I know it's not, you're not paying for it. So just say thank you if you can. I truly appreciate it. For the Instagram community, I'm really so sorry that we couldn't eventually connect through the streaming platform we're supposed to do. But we're going to re-edit the video, and then we're going to have it on all the social media platform also. So please, thank you so much. We're going to have another guest, I think, by next week. The part two, I am thinking we're definitely going to have by part two, Mr. Aaron. I don't know if whatever it takes. If we have to be here in Nigeria, if I have to be here in Michigan, we have to just get a part two for everyone to see. So I really want to just appreciate you. Thank you so much for the whole thing that you've actually done. This is life, and we're truly so appreciative. And then sorry also for everyone. Mr. Aaron, so sorry. I know I just had to borrow just 1 hour of your very precious time. People don't know the value we get by having top leaders like you. People just want to run with what is out there. They don't know a lot of times you have to find, and that's what I enjoy from you. I hear people say, oh, mentor, and then you ask someone, who's your mentor? They say it's Miles Moreau. Who's your mentor, Mike Murdoch? Have you had a relationship with those people? No. So I think I'm one of the most privileged person in the world to be able to have people like you, and enough mentors I also have. And I truly want to appreciate you for the time that you've given on Business Conversation with Charles. So thank you everyone for joining. This is Charles Mosele, and this is Business Conversation with Charles. We do this every Saturday as much as we can, just to give back and have value. And then we have a couple of programs that we have coming up. I'm inspired. I was going to ask Mr. Aaron, maybe that could just be a last word in a minute, talk about the ranch and what you do for at-risk kids. And if you also have if people listen to me, you're actually in the United States or around there, or even in Nigeria, you actually can be part of that. A couple of things we do here around Nigeria as well. So if you want to be part of our network, please let me know. Just send me a text, send me a message on, and then think about the next generation. So please, it's important we network and do quite a lot of things together. So, Aaron, in just 1 minute, I still looks like you talk about the ranch. I can't wait to be in Michigan because that is exactly what I'm going for. First of all, I love horse riding, and then I just want to be with you, and then I want to see the kids as well.
And so our ranch really is set up. We utilize the horses to break down the barriers, to help build self-confidence, self-esteem. And a lot of our youth today, a lot of them they've been removed in a lot of cases by child protective services. They're in transitional homes for physical, sexual, emotional abuse and neglect, right? And so we utilize the horses, again, to break down the barriers. We teach them out of the Bible principles that they can carry on with the rest of their life. We teach them about not religion, but relationship with their Savior. And, I'm blessed because it keeps me connected to animals that help save my life. That's a whole conversation for a whole other time. But also it's something that I'm passionate about, which is all of these kids today that don't deserve parents, and I use that word loosely, that they didn't get to pick, right? These kids didn't get to pick their life. They were brought into this world, whether they wanted to come into this world or not. And so I believe that you can make a difference. You just have to choose to make a difference. And so we believe that here at the ranch, we help do that, and we do it one child at a time. And like I said before, whether it's one or, this year we had several hundred, but you know what? Doing something is better than sitting around and talking about it or doing nothing.
Yes, yes. Well, I promise I'll zip up. I won't say any. I'll zip up my mouth and I won't say any other thing. Thank you so much, Mr. Aaron. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call. This has been Business Conversation with Charles. Do have a lovely day and God bless. Thank you.